Hi friends, I am sorry I have not been posting much. In fact, I was encouraged, well, I made a promise to Linda Road, Rebecca Patter, and Sasha Fox on Facebook that I would make this video and I would start posting again because I have been answering a lot of questions, a lot of the same questions, unfortunately, on different Facebook forums and just different social media outlets, and I do a lot of typing when I should do a lot of videos. And but you wear makeup for a video. I literally, I don't want to wear makeup, so I don't want to put makeup on in order to do a video. But I do feel, whatever, maybe it's social pressure or something. I just feel like I need to wear makeup. But I did my makeup for y'all. So, alright, please don't forget to like and subscribe, and we will move right into the content. This video is about what to expect when you go from carnivore. Now, it's coming from a perspective of, I went cold turkey. So I went from plant-based to carnivore in one day, overnight. And a lot of these things may directly apply to that type of situation. The majority of the people that I, like followers or people that I help, that is what they do, is they do it all at once. I personally am not a mediator, like a moderator. I can't moderate sugar, I can't moderate carbs, I can't cut out a particular type of carb one week and then continue cutting out carbs and sugars like for X amount of weeks and that kind of thing. I just have to do it cold turkey because if it's in my diet, that's what I'm gonna want. I'm not one of those people like, let me have some candy here and I won't have candy there. I'm not like my daughter, who I can literally go to her room the day before Halloween and throw out last year's Halloween candy. That is not my life. If I had known she had it, I would have eaten it. So yeah, that's my life. So that's why I'm doing this from more of a all or nothing, I guess, perspective, like all at once perspective. So the first thing to expect is, or I guess these were kind of negative things that happened that I was like, is this supposed to happen? Like, I don't really hear people talking about this. Is it just me? Like, is there something wrong with me? Like, can I just not do this? If you feel that way, don't. It's completely normal. This happens sometimes. A lot of these things happen to me. A lot of these things happen to the people who I talk to, who have gone carnivore. So, and I'm curious, like, if you are a moderator and you can, like, you're my hero, number one. Number two, if you are a moderator, did any of these things happen for you as well? Or is it just, those of us who can't moderate that had to go through this? Okay, so the first thing is my stomach hurt. It hurt for quite a long time, actually. Like maybe 6 to 8 weeks. And, I started off and it was more acute, and then it got less and less and less. That, honestly, because like you have in your digestive system, you have bacteria and you have enzymes, and you have fungus, you have all these bugs in there, and you set them up to process certain foods when you eat certain ways. And then when you make big changes, essentially, there are bugs that are dying, and they are not happy about dying, and just like in my case, I was set up to digest plant foods, and then I went ahead and ate carnivore, and they were not happy about changing things around. So it doesn't really have to be scary, but it can be scary if you don't know why. So that's why. Meat aversion. Meat aversion, like there's a whole range of like situations that I not personally have experienced, but I mean I have, but I'll get into my experience because mine is on kind of like the extreme end. But you know, some friends that have done it, they basically said, oh, I just don't want to eat meat. Like, I'm not a meat person. I've never really liked to eat a lot of meat. Like, just meat's not my thing. And it's like, well, basically you have already, it's kind of the same as the why does your stomach hurt? Well, because the bugs in your stomach are basically telling you, no, you have set us up to consume these things. These are what we're used to consuming. These are what we're geared towards consuming. So they're going to kick up a fuss. They're going to be fussing at you, and you're going to have a meat aversion maybe. Now, I had kind of a lot of stuff going on. I got tested for Lyme disease. I tested negative for Lyme disease, although I live in Colorado, and I don't, like, my doctor didn't even know how to test me for Lyme disease. Like, didn't even know a test to do. So I don't think it was the alpha-gal specifically that I was tested for, but like all I know was when I tried to eat a ribeye, 2 hours later, I would vomit it up, like just projectile vomit. So yeah, I, for the first 6 months, had to eat things like pork and chicken because I couldn't keep beef down. Now, that being said, I was trying to eat grain-fed, and considering the majority of them are fed corn, I have an issue with corn. The corn, I mean, it accumulates in the fat of the cow because grain-fed beef is only grain-fed for like 3 months of its life, the last 3 months of its life. And they do that because they accumulate fat. And you know, this was kind of an aha moment. Like, cows, bovines, they have a 4-chambered stomach. And that 4-chambered stomach is set up with all the correct enzymes and bacteria and fungus and whatever to create fat and protein for them to consume out of plant matter. Humans don't have 4-chambered stomachs. So like cows are vegetarians, like they are vegan, essentially. They eat plants. That is what they eat. And they are set up to do that. And I am not. And they are set up to eat plants, but when they get grains, they get fat. So why would a human whose digestive system is not set up to eat plants not get fat when they ate carbs or grains? Yeah, kind of should have known that, being raised on a dairy farm. But anyway, the next thing people run into is diarrhea and or constipation. So we'll take diarrhea first. Could be too much water. Like, humans are the only creature that overconsumes water. You know, like, people have killed themselves by having too much water. So potentially it could be that. Also, it could be too much fat. But that's nuanced. You could be eating the exact correct amount of fat, but particularly in the beginning, if your liver has kind of dialed back on creating bile, or or you don't have a lot of bile preloaded into your gallbladder, then you're not going to be able to digest that, and it's going to go right through you. Like, I don't know if you've ever heard the term fat through a goose. Yes, well, fat through a human too. That being said, and this is something that I have heard is theoretically possible, but the gallbladder, so the liver makes bile, which is essentially made to digest, for the most part, fat, animal fats being the best of the fats. And what happens is, if you're eating a low-fat diet or a plant-based diet, then there's not a lot of need for that bile, and so it just collects in your gallbladder and turns into sludge or stones or whatever. And then I have heard that theoretically people could, once they start eating the proper human diet with plenty of animal fat, then stuff starts moving and they end up having a problem with gallstones or gall sludge. I personally have never known anyone to have that issue. If you do have that issue, I get the impression just from a lot of comments online is that these doctors are like, well, you had gallstones, let's just take out your gallbladder. You don't need it anyway. I don't know why they want to do that when it just seems like if you just get rid of the stones and you continue eating a high-fat, animal-based carnivore diet, then your gallbladder is going to work just fine. And maybe they don't always need to just take it out, but I don't know, they seem to want to just take out organs because, I don't know, probably because they get paid to do it. Anyway, so too much fat, like I said, is kind of nuanced. It could be that you're eating too much fat. It could just be that your liver hasn't cut up and it hasn't created enough bile, and then in a few weeks it'll start creating enough bile and you're good to go. If you do not have a gallbladder, it's fine. You can still do carnivore. Your liver will either create little outpouches for the bile to get stored in, or you may have to eat multiple smaller meals throughout the day just to be able to catch that liver bile as it drops or goes into your system. Another thing that can cause diarrhea is coffee and or those sugar-free or any sweeteners really, but specifically the sugar-free sweeteners, they are diuretics. So if you got a problem with the flow, coffee might need to go. Then there's oxalates. I'm not really going to get into oxalates. Just understand that oxalates are a plant toxin and can cause diarrhea. And some people have reported to me that for about 2 weeks due to oxalates, they did have diarrhea. I'm not going to get into oxalates because honestly, I could do a whole mini series on just my oxalate drama alone. So constipation, kind of the opposite of diarrhea, not enough water, not enough fat. But along with that one, also dairy. So dairy has something called casomorphins in it, and they kind of act like opioids in the system, specifically can cause constipation. So if you're backed up, you might need to dial back on the cheese. Now these two next to actually really did scare me in the beginning because I could find nothing about them. Like specifically the next one, which is slow digestion. I would look for stuff and it was like crickets. no idea why it seemed to take 7D, as in 7 hours, to digest a meal. It was scary. I was like, what the heck's going on? And then you couple it with the next one, which is a small amount of poop. It's like, why am I suddenly taking 3 days to digest something and I don't have much to show for it? Like, there's got to be something wrong. I think for me specifically, I was on something for gastritis. I forget what it's called. It started with an O. Doesn't matter. Anyway, it was for gastritis, and what it did is it made my stomach acid less acidic. And you kind of need it to be acidic to digest meat. That being said, additionally, meat gets, like, essentially it's very bioavailable, meaning your body can utilize all or most of the nutrition in it. And that's why you end up having small amounts of poop, because your body is actually utilizing most of what you ate, essentially. And I mean, it makes sense if you think about it, because, like, well, like when I was plant-based, it just, like, I thought I was getting all of this nutrition because I was like eating 11 cups of cruciferous vegetables a day, and I just would have these giant poops, and poop is waste product. So if you have a lot of it, you're not getting that nutrition. That was another duh. Really should have thought about that, Melanie. Anyway, yeah, so slow digestion, not really something to be afraid of. Mine did speed up, so, you know, it'll take maybe 5 to 10 hours or something to digest a meal. But yeah, in the beginning, it was slow going. Next is headaches. So if you think about it, way back before the agricultural revolution, when we're eating all these carbohydrates that make you retain water, hydrate. Anyway, essentially carbohydrates do help you to store water in your body, not necessarily where you want it. Like I said, retaining water, puffy feet, puffy hands, puffy face, like those are carbohydrate symptoms, I guess. Inflammation. However, so your body isn't really set up to be able to mitigate the vast amount of sugar and carbohydrates that we consume on a plant-based diet, on the standard American diet, just because prior to the agricultural revolution, that really wasn't available. We ate meat, salt and water, and the water came from a stream because, you know, we hadn't polluted it yet. Yeah, so we would get the magnesium, potassium, electrolytes essentially from the stream water because there were rocks in there, and it would, you know, rocks and dirt and stuff like that, and that's how you would get those things. So we never really either developed the ability to get these things out of meat, or these things weren't necessarily in meat and we got them from the stream water. Well, we don't have stream water anymore. For the most part, you're getting it from the city out of your refrigerator. So you might need to take some electrolytes. I personally would just make like chicken broth, just boil the chicken bones and make chicken broth and get fasting salts. It's just powdered magnesium, potassium, and sodium. Put in a teaspoon of that and the headache would go away. So not a problem. And so that also leads into peeing a lot. So that is because you are no longer retaining water because no more carbohydrates. So you got to get rid of it. And that is kind of why you do need to maybe add some electrolytes, have some sodium, salt your food to taste, just because that salt is going to help you retain water in a healthy manner and not become dehydrated. The next one is getting full too fast. This was not my problem, but this is something that has been reported to me as a problem. And I think this might also have something to do with the fact that the bacteria, enzymes, and fungus are changing, and you just you kind of feel like you can't take in anymore because you're just not set up for it. Potentially that could be why. It also is hunger signals and stuff are completely different. It's not like with carbohydrates, where if you have carbohydrates, 2 hours later, you're like, I'm hungry, I'm gonna die. No, I don't get hangry anymore. None of that stuff. I would suggest do your best to eat whatever you can, even if it's maybe not pure, because I know a lot of people get all bent out of shape about that. Don't think you're gonna get kicked out of the carnivore club if you eat summer sausage. Eat what you can afford. Eat what you like. If it has to be processed at first because that's all you can stomach, then do that. But just stick to it, because eventually you do feel better. And that's another thing. A lot of people who go carnivore, it's like, this is so amazing. I was in perfect health in 3 days, and I don't know, I was farting rainbows and got a superpower. Okay, I'm glad for you. I'm really glad that everything was amazing and all of your problems lifted and you didn't have any problems anymore and carnivore solved everything. I'm actually a little jealous because that didn't happen for me. It took about 11 months before it really seemed like, it was almost like if you can picture the sun coming from behind a cloud, just physically, there was a day where I was like, I don't hurt. I don't hurt. I haven't had pain all day. And my digestion's been pretty good. And I didn't really burp that much today. And I just feel lighter, so I would say if it's a situation where, because I really felt like I'm weird and this is not working for me and I need to quit and find something else. I honestly felt that way so many times, but I believed in the science, and so many times I really did have to just be like, look, Melanie, you can't afford to eat all that fresh stuff. You're not that person. Your neighbor doesn't have a bunch of cows that you can just go pick one when you're out of meat. You're in suburbia trying to feed yourself and your family, and you have to do what you have to do to get the healing that you get, and it might take extra time because You know, maybe you did something that caused more damage than somebody else did, you know. So wherever you are, like Dr. Berry says, if you can fog a mirror, you can get better. Like, you can get healing. And that's part of the reason that I really wanted to start this channel, is to let people know that, like, if you've been suffering from conditions, medical conditions, chronic conditions, chances are it's just plant toxins. And yeah, sometimes the road to recovery is bumpy and it's hard and it's scary, but it's worth it, and you can get there, and you really deserve to be healthy, to feel attractive, to lose the weight, to keep all of your organs, to be a whole person. You know, whatever your goal is, like, you deserve to reach that. You don't deserve to be sick, sad, and fat. You know, and I know people are like, oh, well, the fat positive movement, I'm sorry, but it's toxic. When I was heavy, I was in pain. When I was heavy, I was sick, and I knew I was sick, and I could feel that I was sick. And to say that you can be healthy at any size, I'm sorry, it's a lie. But you deserve to know the truth and to be healthy and to feel better. You don't have to be sick. Like, that's why I started this journey, is because I didn't want to be sick, and I believed that so many people were getting healthy that I could get healing too, and I deserve to get healing, and so do you. So just keep that in mind. Make that your mantra. I deserve healing. I deserve health. All right. Thank you. Bye-bye.